The college basketball offseason is fully underway now. Different head coaching changes have already happened. Transfer portal obviously is the wild, wild west, and a lot's going to happen between now and the next season. There's a major blue blood college basketball team without a head coach right now. He has moved on. John Calipari left Kentucky and in a shocking way took the job at Arkansas. So left one SEC team for another and leaves a school like Kentucky to go to Arkansas, which we all believe that the fans and everybody else just kind of ran him out of town. And now a blue blood job is open and different names have been brought up. Different people have been talked to about it. And a lot of people or some big time coaches have already turned it down to stay at their school at Baylor and UConn. It's just, they're not taking it. So a lot of things that people have said is Brad Underwood's name deservedly on that list? Are they going to reach out to Brad Underwood at Illinois? And would Brad Underwood take the job? So let's just open this can of worms. Would Brad Underwood ever leave Illinois to go to Kentucky? And Kentucky is a blue blood of basketball. It's hard to call a school one thing or the other, but basketball and most of Kentucky and most of our minds, they're probably a basketball school. That's just what they're known for. I know Kentucky football, it's usually been hit or miss, but lately, they've been kind of steady Eddie in what they're doing in their season. Stoops, was reported to leave to take a job, but ended up coming back. And so that just says something about him and where he thinks that program is going. And Kentucky basketball, no matter what, for the most part, at least for my lifetime, has always been very competitive. John Calipari, I believe, he's won one national title there. He recruits well, but he recruits in a way that you can build up a team from like the olden days where you give freshmen, develop them, build a team, or he finds the really, really, really talented guys, and he's kind of the master of the one and done. They play for a year, and then they decide to go off to the NBA and make money. Now you got name, image, and likeness. They can make money, and you got the collectives. But now with the transfer portal, they can leave. And there's a lot of pressure there to win at Kentucky because, like I said, it's a basketball school, which I hate to say about a college because, usually competitive in sports and everything else. But I think to everybody, and I think you can agree if you're listening or watching this, it's a basketball school. It's when you hear Kentucky, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is it's a basketball school. And so they've interviewed the Baylor head coach. They've talked about getting UConn. It's just UConn, they just won a national title. Why would he leave? Baylor, they've been competitive. He's won a national title, but I said no. So different names have popped up for this job. And while it's not talked about a whole ton, it has been brought up on different occasions here when you're looking at social media is that is Brad Underwood considered for this job, and should he be considered for this job, and would he leave? So let's just dive right back into that. Let's talk about should he be considered. I think he absolutely should be considered for that Kentucky job. If I'm Kentucky and I'm looking at the head coaches and what they've done, you would have to think, okay, Brad Underwood should be on a list of people that they would want to contact because of how he has rebuilt the Illinois program. And he did it before the transfer portal era where he got recruits, built them up. I would assume, is now starting for the Bulls. Kofi Coburn plays overseas. You got a lot of guys playing overseas, and they've won, Big Ten championships, tournament, and regular season. They've gotten to the NCAA tournament since COVID has happened. And if COVID didn't happen, you would add that to his resume. They would have competed for a Big Ten title. I'm not saying they would have won it, but they would have competed. And his recruiting, Illinois has been active in the portal, and he's gotten a couple guys to come in, a tall guard, another guard, and Illinois is at a place now, whether it's true or not. Every time somebody enters the transfer portal, it seems like Illinois is somewhere in that discussion. And so that just says something about who Brad Underwood is, coach, getting that program where it needs to be, all that stuff that everybody knows. Go listen to any other thing I've talked about, Brad Underwood. So for me, yes, he should be um, considered for that job. If I was Kentucky, he would be on a list of candidates that we would maybe want to reach out to because of what he's done with the Illinois program. And that's what they want. They want somebody to come in and try to have that mentality and that championship mentality that he has and the fieriness he has. And, this is going to contradict a little bit because he'd have to leave Illinois. The type of loyalty that he has shown Illinois and that he's all about it. So if he were to come to Kentucky, that would be who he would be about. Now, would Brad Underwood decide to leave Illinois and take this job? So we have to try to look at this from a fan perspective and a non-fan perspective. People are going to say yes because Kentucky might have more resources when it comes to money, maybe facilities. I've never seen Kentucky's facilities. Illinois is upgrading all their facilities. And the type of money that he could be paid for going to Kentucky and maybe, just maybe, trying to use that Kentucky blue blood name to recruit. Now, that part has lost a little bit of its aura when it comes to the transfer portal because coaches used to be able to sell themselves, be able to say, I can get you to a place you've never thought about getting yourself. We are at, if it was Kentucky, hey, this is Kentucky. Look at everything that has ever happened here with basketball and championships and the type of players that we have produced and getting them here and getting them to the NBA. Look at what we've won competing in the SEC. Look at what we've done. I know from the football side, that part has kind of disappeared. And so I don't know if that part necessarily would work, but it could work for some for at least a year and the end of the transfer portal until NCAA decides that they have some type of leadership and get a handle on this. So there is that part that I think, and I don't want to speak for Coach Underwood or anything like that, but we'd have to look at it as if they reached out, would he take a pause and actually think about it for a hot second? Because you would have to consider his career and anything else. Are there any Kentucky players that Illinois can get because Calipari leaving? There could be. I have a feeling, though, because as soon as that happened, I know before Calipari said that he was going to take the job, someone entered the transfer portal, but when he did, even more jumped in. So I wonder if they're going to follow him to Arkansas. And what a crazy thing. Like, you're going to leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas, all the resources you have there. You're basically on top of the world, coach at a blue blood at Kentucky. But man, those fans and everything else just ran him off, didn't they? Like, it's always championship or bust, I guess, or getting to the Elite Eight Final Four. And when they don't, it just blows up. And that's good pressure and not good pressure. It's good pressure because that's an awesome expectation standard to have year in and year out. But in this world, it's just, that's a lot of pressure. And if you're not consistently getting it done, and is he really adapting to the times? Like, that's another reason why maybe Kentucky would think about Brad Underwood, because I know last year he went heavy in the transfer portal, got some guys that necessarily didn't fit, and he really adapted to what he was doing and is adapted to this world that they are now a part of. And this year really got it right, I think, with the transfers that came in, and hopefully the ones that are coming in now would do it. But that's a good question. Like, could Brad Underwood take advantage of this and say, your coach left, he's going to Arkansas. No offense to Arkansas. I don't even know what school Arkansas would be. Are they a basketball school? They're probably mainly more football. When I think of Arkansas, like, when you hear a school's name, what sport comes to mind? And that's why I label them as a certain school. When I think here Kentucky, I think basketball. When I hear Arkansas, I think of football. And so to me, that's more of a football-ish school. Like Alabama. I know Alabama basketball made it to the Final Four, but when you hear Alabama, you think football, right? When you hear Clemson, you think football. When you hear Texas, you could say, or like Tennessee. Like Tennessee, you could say baseball. Texas A&M could say baseball. But there are when you hear those schools' names, immediately you think of a sport. But I don't know if Brad Underwood necessarily could. If this was 10 years ago and they reached out, I think he would have more of a pause and consider the job more 10 years ago because he could really sell that Kentucky brand. Today's day and age, I don't know if he can. So could he take a pause? Could he say, "Oh, how much money are they going to pay me?" Brad Underwood does not strike me as a person that everything's about money. And I know we could say that about a lot of people. I mean, he seems to really like being at Illinois. He has said that over and over. And I know coaches say that all the time. But just the way he talked about Illinois after the season was over, um, and talking about how getting Illinois back on the map, trying to build it to where it is a destination spot for them. Check it out. 7. This is really the best time for a coaching change while the portal is open. I mean, maybe for John Calipari because he could get some of those Kentucky guys to follow him. And now that he's at Kentucky, it's a fresh, or Arkansas, and it's a fresh start. Maybe he can use that to his advantage. I don't know if if you're talking about Brad Underwood going to Kentucky, like, would that be the best? I don't know because he's gotten transfers already in from the portal. Some of the guys, I know Dane Danger left, but Sincere Harris said he was coming back. Rogers coming back. I know Domask has to go through hoops with the NCAA. They might deny it, but if they agree and bring him back, that's another guy. So I don't know for like Brad Underwood, is it the right move either? Because you would have to think about what you've built at your school. Is it time to leave? And you're getting to the Final Four. Does he think going to Kentucky is going to get him over the edge to maybe win a championship on his resume? But if you think about Brad Underwood, and like I was, alluding to, it took him a long time to become a head basketball coach. He had to coach and do it for free like the JUCOs. He was an assistant for a long time, got his shot. He was at, I believe, Stephen F. Austin and then Oklahoma State, Illinois. But like Illinois, the first real, like, I know Oklahoma State's division, like big time Division I, but he's 60 years old or something like that. And so the path that he took to find a place where he's been for a while, he has full support from the athletic director and seems to really like being at Illinois. And they're really trying. Illinois is really trying to upgrade facilities. They're really trying to put themselves in a position to fight with those other schools. And it's just taken piece by piece. Illinois, I know people may not pay attention to Illinois as much as like I do and other fans, but they are like, they're getting a hockey team. They're adding on to their facilities. Now they just can't do it all at once because it costs a lot of money. And the way the state of Illinois is run, it's not ran very well when it comes to all that stuff. And so they have to do these add-ons and these upgrades piece by piece. So one year they can do a couple things, pause it, and then the next year or 2 years, go back at it again. Check it out. 7 says Brad doesn't need the Kentucky pressure cooker. His job is secure for many years. And I was going to, allude to that is you're at a place where you've built it up. Like I said, you have full support. He would have to really tank the next 3 years for them to even consider moving on. But Illinois fans have wanted him fired for years. Every time that they haven't won the Big Ten championship or the last 2 years and then still a tournament, people were calling for his job. Certain games, even during the regular season, I remember even this year they were talking about even after the loss to Purdue, fire him. And I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about to fire him? But go listen to that episode. There's whole other episodes on that. I would be incredibly shocked to see, first of all, if he's high on Kentucky's list. I think he should be, but if he's not, I'll be shocked at that. but I won't be. I will be incredibly shocked after everything I just said that if they reach out, I will be incredibly shocked if he leaves Illinois and takes this Kentucky job. I think I'm not calling him old. If he ever listened to this, I'm not calling him old. But you're in a place now where maybe you could end your career here at Illinois and not go to that Kentucky stuff. Because, like, isn't it weird that I don't know if it's weird, but the job is still open, right? And again, I just said it. Kentucky's a basketball blue blood, and you would think people would be chomping at the bit to get that job. Like, again, if this was 10 years ago, maybe they would already been filled, but it's been open for days, and they haven't had anybody take it. And you know, I would be incredibly shocked if Brad Underwood took the job. I just really would. I really think that it might be and I apologize. You're listening or watching. My mind racing. I don't know if it'd be a bad move for him because it is Kentucky and everything that goes with it. But like I said, everything that goes with it. He probably saw like Calipari is a good basketball coach, did good things at Memphis, did good things at Kentucky. I know he probably wanted to win way more championships than anything else. But seeing how that unfolded, where I see the negativity of people wanting him fired, I don't know if he sees it or if it's just because the world we live in and it's on Twitter or Facebook where the small majority of people that are the loudest are the ones that you see and hear rather than all the normal fans that maybe are like, what do you mean fire him? Like, I think it also says something when you have like a Scott Drew at Baylor who has done a really good job with that Baylor program. Turn it down, right? Like, I think Brad Underwood could look at that and say, well, why would he turn that down? I know Baylor, because he has built up Baylor, so maybe he's comfortable there. He won the championship and he's building it up and they're competing and everything else. Is Scott Drew looking at it saying like, wow, they really ran him out and all that amounts pressure that just comes with the moment you're hired, like the pressure at Baylor, he has built up because of the success. The pressure at Illinois, Brad Underwood has built up, right? And I think it'd be really hard for him to sit there and say, well, and this is a selfish thinking because you want to think about the players and what they built up. And he even said that. He goes, when they got to the Elite Eight and the Final Four, where he said that the players before us are smiling because they helped build this. But I think for him, if he really wanted to look at it, and this is thinking of as a coach, is like he and staff have helped build this pressure and build this program and get it to where it was. And it's in a better place than when he took it over. I think it would just be really hard for him to just say, okay, time to move on, right? He seems like a guy, I know he moved on from the other schools, but now that he's been here for a while, I think it'd just be really hard for him to make that decision to just say, okay, time to go and go to Kentucky and have to now redo the hard part of building it back up. Not saying that Kentucky is in shambles like Illinois kind of was when he got there and took over, but essentially those guys might leave into the portal and now he really has to recruit. And those guys that just committed to Illinois, would they now hurt Illinois and leave and go with him to Kentucky? And now Illinois is left in shambles, which I just don't see him being like that in that situation. But I know I have seen where he's on the list and maybe a part of it, or people have said, have written about it and said, yeah, he is on the list. I don't know how recent this would be, but if you were a betting man, it's Brad Underwood's name's on this list and it says plus 2,000 for him to go. So that just shows that he is, people are even thinking that he just wouldn't leave. But just the fact that I think he's brought up for that job shows how much of a good job he has done for Illinois. I know Billy Donovan is probably next in line that they'll talk to. I know Mark Pope has been brought up from BYU. Bruce Pearl from Auburn. I think that would be, it would just be weird to see Calipari leave from an SEC team to another SEC team. Bruce Pearl from an SEC team to go to another SEC team, you know? One name I said was Shaka Smart, but then somebody pointed out to me, well, he tried the big time school at Texas and just was not him. He loves Marquette. I think he could do a good job at Kentucky, but he has a good thing going at Marquette. And I think he really wants to build that up. And also, not everybody, as much as we could sit here as fans or as high school coaches, like, oh, yeah, I would take that big time job. That's easy to say because we're not the ones being offered the job. And, you know, maybe he's not about that. You know, Illinois is a big time job. I don't care what people say. Excuse me. And so at the end of the day, I would be crazy shocked if we woke up one day and just said Brad Underwood is now the head coach of Kentucky. And since he's not high on these lists, I think maybe is why he hasn't posted anything, because I would expect him to post something like what the players do and like I'm coming back or like the Wolf of Wall Street. But it is an interesting conversation to be had. In the back of my mind as an Illinois fan, it makes you suspect, a little nervous about it. If he were to leave, because then, my goodness, like who could we hire to make sure that this Illinois train is going on and on? And it's not always the best thing to move around either. If you got a good thing going, why leave? You know, why not continue just to build on that and try to do the same thing and all that good stuff. And so that's why I was shocked-ish to see Calipari leave. But I also know, like, as soon as he was done, people wanted him fired because the expectations are so high to win the SEC, and you have to put yourself in that position for a championship. Don't get beat in the first round and everything else. And so maybe this is kind of a clean slate, hit the reset button for Calipari to kind of adapt to the times and do that stuff at Arkansas. And Brad Underwood to stay at Illinois and just continue what he's built and continue to do those things. So I would be so incredibly shocked to wake up and see him in a Kentucky blue and go there. But it's respect to him that this is even a conversation to be had. And so that's the episode really. Like, I mean, would Brad Underwood go? Is he going to Kentucky? I'm saying no. In my heart of hearts, I'm saying no. Would we be mad as fans if he left? Yes and no. Yes, because of what he's done and, you know, the good thing going and winning 20 games and competing for Big Ten titles and getting us to the NCAA tournament to put us into that position to even have a fighting chance at Elite Eights and Final Fours, to bring talented players in and coach them up, and him adapting to those things. But also no, because you have to know that at some point it's going to stop, whether he gets a big time school job offer or he decides to hang it up and say, you know, I am done coaching. I need to retire. So it is going to stop at some point. You would have to be happy for him and hope that Illinois doesn't play the team he goes to. But, you know, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side either. So I think those are things, if they were to reach out, you have to think about, like, grass isn't always greener on the other side for him. And I think a lot of these coaches get that when they move around and, you know, yeah, so I just don't see him doing it, but more incredibly shocked if he took it. But yeah, so that wraps up this episode. Make sure you guys are all, if you're watching it, like and subscribe on YouTube. To end it, I did write any football coaches or anything, I did write a book. So you want to be a football coach, truth about football coaching, nobody tells you. It's very, very, very short. If I get up to 800 subscribers, I will put out a thing to submit your name, whether it's on YouTube, make a post about it, or Twitter. So follow Twitter at Coach_Steve72. and I'll give away 2 copies out of my own pocket and send that out. So make sure you were liking, subscribing to get that up. The podcast on Apple and iTunes. Make sure you guys rate it, please, and leave a review and follow it. Same thing on Spotify. They have that now. So if you could do that, I'd be greatly appreciated. Check out all the affiliates in the description below as well. Leave comments if you think Brad Underwood is going to Kentucky and why or why not. Interesting kind of talk to have until this job is filled, which again, incredibly shocked that it is not filled, because that would seem like a destination job. And so are fans pushing it away? Leave a comment to answer that question. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time.